Hi, good morning, Kelsey. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Very, very good. Thank you so much for allowing me to record this portion of the interview. So we're just going to go ahead and get started here. So why don't you tell me where you live, city and state, please?
Edgewater, Florida.
In the next 15 weeks or so, do you have any pre-scheduled appointments or days off needed?
I do not.
Okay. And what was the reason that you left your most recent job?
Moving out here to Edgewater, the commute has been really long.
Okay, thank you. And then as far as the healthcare companies that you've worked for in the past, I know we've already talked about that, but for the purpose of this recording, can you please explain the healthcare companies you've worked for?
Colon and rectal, and then it turned into Advent Health Colon and Rectal when they purchased us.
Okay, so Advent Health, thank you. And then tell me about your learning style. How do you learn best?
I'm kind of a see one, do one kind of girl.
Great. And then what type of management do you, or like leadership, do you work best with? Do you like someone more hands-on, or do you like somebody maybe that kind of lets you do your own thing? What type of style do you work best with?
Um, I easily adapt, honestly. I have worked in both someone who is right there all the time, and then also where nobody is around, and you kind of have to call or email or message them to find someone. And I do well in both situations. I really don't have a preference, I would say.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's talk a little bit about your office setup. So, do you have a designated home office space that would be quiet and secure?
I do. Yep, we have a whole spare bedroom with my office stuff here.
Perfect. If needed, are you comfortable using your own equipment during this assignment?
Yes. My question about that is what are the requirements? Are there any specific types of computers or anything?
So it would be access to the internet. So if you have
Yes.
reliable internet and a computer to access the internet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then let's talk a little bit about your actual experience with patients. So when you were at colon and rectal, were you registering the patients for them?
Yes. Yep.
About was it a busy office?
Yes, we were. We're specialty office. So I mean, on some days we would see upwards of 150 patients between four doctors.
Oh my goodness.
And the registration would start at 7:30 when the phones turned over and wouldn't stop until 4:30, 5 o'clock when they turned back over.
Okay, so definitely very high volume. And then you did mention that the specialty already for that particular position. So I'm going to skip on to the next question. Why don't you tell me about your experience with insurance verification and speaking with patients? Did you help them with their benefits, co-pays, and financial responsibilities?
Yes, actually. So I was in a surgery scheduling role as well. And during that role, we would run patient benefits with their insurance. We would find out if authorizations required. It would be a lot of calling the patient and letting them know this is what your deductible is. This procedure goes towards your deductible. This is how much you will owe. It's an estimate, so on and so forth. And that was pretty a common everyday thing for me.
Okay, great. So if you were pulling or speaking to a patient, can you tell me about the patient identifiers? What would you use?
Their name, date of birth, and address are good ones.
Perfect, thank you. What about interaction with healthcare professionals, nurses, doctors, medical office? How would you communicate? How would you effectively communicate with them?
I mean, I did do that a lot because in the role of surgery scheduling, it requires you building relationships not only with the doctors that I'm working for, but other offices such as their cardiologist if you need clearance or their primary doctor who needs clearance. It it kind of became a natural thing to be kind because when you're nice to other people that you tend to get things done faster, so you build those relationships and you know with other offices, with their nurse, with the actual doctor themselves, and you all as a team work together for the patient.
Yeah, I love that. And we did talk a little bit about the fact that you did work for Advent. You were there for quite some time. Just for the sake of this video, remind me again of your software that you use with Advent.
Epic.
Perfect. That's what I thought. Okay, great. Why don't you tell me about a time, maybe that in all of those 150 interactions that you were having daily, maybe that a patient wasn't so happy. What was that situation, and how did you handle it?
I mean, in my years of experience, there are quite frequently a lot of, dissatisfied or upset patients. In healthcare, it happens. You can't get in soon enough, your copay was wrong or you got a bill, so on and so forth. And I think over the years, I've just become adapt to it where it comes naturally that, you just calmly explain. You offer a solution where you can. In specific, if you need like a specific example, um, surgery schedule. A patient came in for a consult. They thought, oh, well, I'm going to have surgery tomorrow now. But it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And a lot of like specialty care offices, they are booking out a month or even longer, depending on what the surgery is. So you'd really have to explain that. And I would get a lot of, you know, it would bring down the situation when you explain really, say this doctor has 1 day of OR time. In the OR, you need a month. I promise I will write your name down and call you and we will get you in sooner. Just to let them know that you go that extra mile for them. It usually just kind of detours the situation and they kind of understand and calm down and take the date that you offer.
Sure. Great answer. Great answer. What if someone were to ask you what you thought customer service was, how would you explain that?
I would say customer service is like the support we give people, whether, in healthcare specific, it's the support before when they're making an appointment, during their appointment, and then afterwards, if they call and have questions or need follow-up or need surgery or something like that, it's the support you give and connection you make.
Yeah, for sure. What skills do you think would be important if you worked in a customer service role? Maybe let's say three skills.
Listening and comprehending what you're hearing, organization, um, being comforting, depending. I mean, I was in colon and rectal and it's a hard place to want to go. So being comforting was something I really learned was really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that empathy to be able to
Yes.
understand that they might not be
Yes.
having the best day for sure. And then what about positions that are repetitive? I mean, my goodness, if you were taking 150 calls or assisting 150 people, I'm sure that got to be a little bit repetitive. What do you do to stay motivated?
I am a routine kind of person. I like to get in there and then I find my routine and that's kind of what I look forward to the next day. I know what I'm going to do. I know where I'm going with my day. It's
Mhm.
comforting, so it keeps you motivated at the same time.
Fabulous. All right, I have one final question, and it's a two-parter. Why don't you tell me what you feel if we were to speak maybe with your reference or your previous manager? What would they say your biggest strength is?
I learn very fast. I adapt very easily. When they needed something, doctors included, I would be the go-to. I'm very organized and, I can multitask and technology is very easy for me to adapt to. And with Epic, if you know it at all, it changes quite frequently and there will be no notification of it changing. You just kind of have to adapt and get in there and learn where you're going with what you were going to do. And that's how Epic goes. So I was always the go-to Epic girly too. So yeah.
All right, fabulous. And then let's just flip that question slightly. If we were to ask, I know this is always a hard question, but what would you say your weakness is? Something maybe that you would want to put on a list of trying to improve on.
Um, I can be very hard on myself, like criticizing myself. I have pretty high standards for the way that I do things in and out of a work scenario. But aside from that, I have a hard time when it's needed to delegate because of that hard criticism I have on myself. I don't like to trust the next person's going to do it the way that I would have or do it at all sometimes. So I have a hard time to delegate.
Okay, I can relate. Okay. Kelsey, I'm going to go ahead and stop this part of the recording, but don't go anywhere. We got a few more things to
Okay.
chat about. Thank you.
Thank you.